Welcome back to the next edition of Market Report Monday, where we grab an area in Southwest Florida and we look at the numbers, the trends, we talk about what's to come, and we even look at real home examples of stuff affected by that data. So let's get into it. All right, last week we spoke about the Sarasota County, Sarasota city limits, and today we're going to talk about Lakewood Ranch. Lakewood Ranch, Florida is a very large northeast suburb of Sarasota, Manatee-ish County. So most of the neighborhoods technically sit in Bradenton, with a couple of the new ones down here in Sarasota County. But still, when you talk about moving to Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch is in that conversation in pretty much every conversation. So what you have here is you basically have, as far as suburban housing master plan communities, you have basically Lakewood Ranch in northeast Sarasota, you have Palmer Ranch in south Sarasota, and then you have Welland Park in South Venice. Those are kind of your three large master plan environments that you would look at when you look to building a house or buying a resale of suburban housing in Sarasota, Florida, for the most part. So Lakewood Ranch specifically is northeast of downtown. Most of it sits, if not all of it, east of I-75. 29 total villages, 4 or 5 of those being completely brand new, over 20 of those still being able to build new homes in some capacity, and maybe 4 to 5 that are completely mature, done, cannot build. The first community in Lakewood Ranch was built in 1995, and they've been building ever since with really no end in sight. So the whole thing, it feels extremely new. It almost feels like Pleasantville. There's people riding bikes. There's a lot of retirement. It's the #1 multi-generational community in the United States. So you have all different ages, all different price points. Very pleasant area. They did a really good job with it. It's probably the most holistic master plan community I've ever seen. It wasn't pieced together like some of these places. It was built so holistic that, like, not only do you have like the amenities in specific communities that are amazing and they're all resort style and all that kind of stuff now, but you have community parks throughout that are public. You have a lot of trails. I believe over half the acreage is set aside for conservation, trails, mixed amenities, that kind of thing. They did a really good job with it. It has its own downtown. It's a lot of the parallel roads, University Parkway, State Road 70 and 64, are all flanked by not only major highways and also city roads to get everywhere, basically, but also by your Publix and your major grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how to view it when you look at Sarasota. As depending on your criteria and your price point, what style house, when you're looking at suburban type of housing, typically you're going to go, Lakewood Ranch is going to be heavily in that conversation. And how you view that versus the other suburbs is this one's going to be, you got that whole holistic aspect that I was describing, and there's a lot more options. Like Palmer Ranch and Welland Park do not have as near as many communities that you can still build fresh housing in, and the affordability that you would find over here for the most part. But this is going to be your kind of like, I guess, slightly further from the coast, more or less. So most of these communities are going to be 25-ish minutes from, most people are probably going to shoot parallel here to Lido, Longboat area, or might go to Siesta. Downtown's going to be about 15-20 minutes, because you have one community here and you have a community here. So they're not all going to be equal there, but that's kind of how you look at it. So all of Sarasota County is like really close to everything anyway. So people always talk about Lakewood Ranch being so far, but I lived there when I was building my house. I live around here. I was building my house in central Sarasota, and it's all perspective, right? So like you're 20 minutes to the beach, you're 15, 20 minutes to downtown. A lot of communities, maybe 25, 30 minutes at the most, but it's like its own little spot. It's really affordable compared to being close to the coast, and it's very easy to get to stuff, in my opinion. So I think it's a little bit of a misnomer about this being like way out in the country, but because the evolution of how this area used to be, like that's kind of what's in people's minds. But anyway, sum that up. That's kind of how you view this area. That's the conversation for this. So we're going to talk about 2020 versus 2019. Sale quantity year over year, price per square foot, discount versus list price, and months of inventory. So let's hop in. Okay, our first one. So make sure you check out last week's video on Sarasota if you want to know a little bit more how the charts work. But basically what we have here is we're going to talk about specific metrics versus price brackets, and this conversation is going to be year over year to sum up 2020 as a whole. So along the same trends we've been seeing is you just have a unbelievable quantity disparity from 20 to 19. The growth here has been exploding. So basically you have from 300 to 400,000 all the way to 2 million plus. And basically the lowest growth year over year is 12. You get about 12% here, about 18% here. This one's really interesting. From 600 to 800K, it's grown about 55%. Up to $1 million. This is kind of an oddball price bracket. But $1 million to $2 million, you see that growth, pretty interesting. 40-50% there. And then 2 million plus, really interesting. I mean, you kind of you hear around about people not liking these huge homes, kind of country based anymore with, these 7-8 plus bedroom homes. But, this is, you see this kind of really interesting 2 million plus bracket. So that has the 5 millions, the 6 millions in there. And just, 700-800%, obviously skewed percentage wise here. But yeah, what Lakewood Ranch is just a really good benefactor of our months of resale inventory. So, building is a super attractive option, not just when there's a bunch of resale as well, but even more when there's no inventory, right? Because what else are you going to do? And master plan is a lot easier than trying to piece together purchasing land and doing construction and permit loans and all that kind of stuff. So Lakewood Ranch, if anyone's benefiting from this months of inventory, the amount of new communities and stuff that have been expedited, because literally the amount of people trying to buy that can't buy anything if they wanted to is so crazy that that you see that trend here. So pretty interesting. So this one is going to be more of an indicator of sales price. So this is going to be, my gray bar is 20, this is 19. This is going to be price per square foot in the same price bracket year over year. So you can see a similar trend, right? So, 6%, just a couple percentage points here. This one's actually a little down. And then, kind of that similar trend here. So with new construction, again, this is view it a little bit different than maybe our Sarasota conversation is, new construction is going to be, this might be not even a lag indicator of resales within Lakewood Ranch, but it's also going to be what the builder prices are year over year. So that could be somewhat more muted, being more of a B2B type of relationship. So this could be an indicator of also supply increases as far as lumber cost, and if they acquired that land this year versus 3 years ago, buyers are going to inherit that feel, and that's going to be built into overall purchase contractual price, which is going to include your home, your land, and your structural upgrades. So you're going to see a little bit of that here. So that's definitely both here. But again, it's the same thing, right? If you had the same amount of money in 19, it goes a lot further. So a little interesting here, and this one's probably, I've been definitely feeling this has grown 19-ish%. So what I've seen a lot over Lakewood Ranch is where that 300 to 400K bucket used to be a viable bucket a couple years ago, but now with an average purchase price overall in Lakewood Ranch well over 400K, if you had 350K to spend in Lakewood Ranch right now, it's pretty tricky. So basically what I like to have access to the most options. 500K, high 400s is probably the most comfortable. You could build in almost 20 of the 29 communities with that amount of money. But if you're 350-ish, a lot of this stuff right here is actually going to be, split level villas, the townhome communities like Harmony, and they're going to weigh into that bucket. But single family residences under 400 right now are not that common. So that's kind of why you see this price bracket feeling that. All right, so moving on to discount. So this is going to be percentage of discount. So list price versus sold price percentage below list price. Year over year. So you can see kind of I've seen that everywhere, and builders, I've never seen anything like how builders are conducting business this year of any other time that I've ever dealt with them. It's just the supply and demand relationship is just making it where there's so many more buyers than sellers that, just like beggars can't be choosers kind of situation. So you can kind of see here, like, now again, you got new construction, so a little skew there, but you can kind of see, like, you're not getting huge benefits for purchasing this year versus last year, especially in these bigger buckets, right? Like 2 million plus, they were discounting 12% last year, and you can see it this year, just muted, right? But like you're seeing, where a couple of years ago, you could get like $13,000 for closing costs. I've seen percentages like 10% off purchase price for buying during the summer. I've seen free pools, stuff like that. Right now, builders don't have to do any of that. They don't have to incentivize anyone for anything. They're going to buy anyway. There's too many people. People are fighting over stuff. They're doing grand openings via like Facebook Live and stuff, not letting people even come on site right away, just because like people like have trouble. They're competing over lots, and you have all that kind of stuff. So again, this is just a lot of things are impacted by just the supply being so low. And even with builders, they're feeling it just the same as resale. And then the last one I wanted to check out was months of inventory. So this is like one of my favorite ones. This is a really good indicator of what's going on, whether it's new construction or not. And you can kind of see it's even worse in the resale market, but you can kind of see here this would be months. So at the end of December in 2019 versus 2020, months of homes inventory available if there wasn't one more home listed on the market after that. So you can kind of see how I would say like you got to really get in that 6+ to be like where buyers have some advantage, 6+ months of inventory, so that kind of that comparison part drives stuff down. Anything lower than that, you're really getting into a seller's market. But getting into stuff like this, it gets tough for everybody. So again, just another indicator of just insane supply. I mean, this was really surprising me every time I look at a new market. Is this higher? The awareness of these higher brackets, it's pretty crazy. So this is just it's that same that relocation buyer. Like the people buying here, New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Canada. In California, just that perspective of money here versus there, especially in the new construction, it's so affordable for what you get in some of these areas that people can't find anything. So what they're doing now is they're reserving these 8-9 month builds in late 2020, having a lot of it already in 2021. So they're in their house and can transition by the end of the year. So, all right. So with that being said, a very wordy way of getting to how the market's doing there. But overall, Lakewood Ranch looks extremely similar to how Sarasota looked, and very similar issues. So moving forward, what I would say is what I'm feeling is that a lot of people have asked, is there going to be a dip? Is there any reason to wait? Like, should I? Is it going to swing back in any capacity? So what I'm seeing is that I do think that I can't imagine new construction is going to be able to maintain what's happening now. It's so low. There's no infrastructure for what's happening. So it's so low that it feels like they could never have to stop building. But so they're just going further east and further south, and going to Parish because Lakewood Ranch became unaffordable, and all these things are happening because there's nowhere to buy in town. And resale's bad in pretty much all the areas. So what I'm seeing, so I do think supply is going to increase. I think resale supply, it just cannot stay like it is now. I think a lot of people that never listed their home that you don't even know because of COVID, and they weren't desperate to sell, and they're going to wait a year, they're going to wait 6 months and see what happens. Those folks are I think that's going to normalize a little bit. Maybe in that March, April, we're going to get a little bit more into like people trying to sell in the summer when kids are out of school like normal. But as far as the demand, though, the demand is the problem. Is that I feel like every single day that I feel there's stronger demand, and people are now getting a little bit more desperate because they've been waiting for so long. So I think more people are coming in, and so even if inventory increases, which I do think it will, and resale inventory increasing usually is going to slow down the new construction because of the comparison, but I think it's all going to be gobbled up by demand. And I think that's at least a 12-month thing, probably more. I think the reason that people are buying here it's not that just everyday working class relocating for work thing. So the reason that people are buying here, I think our value proposition of Sarasota is not going to change drastically. So I think that for a buyer to wait to have a benefit related to that conversation of supply and demand and a buyer's market and all that kind of stuff, I think demand it would have to swing back so long that there would actually be an advantage to the inventory situation. So I think waiting right now, I think it could be the same now as it is in June. That could be real, but I think the chance that something improves for the buyer by that point, I just think it's a very, very low reward type of thing. So that's what I feel. I mean, I've never seen anything like the demand. Everyone's doing the same thing. The conversations are almost identical. I was going to retire in 5 years, and now I can work from home, so I'm going to buy now and then work out the rest here. I was going to buy a house in a couple years there. I'm going to buy one now. I'm going to rent it for every month but 2 months, and then I'll have it all ready and can do whatever I want then. I'm going to buy a condo now, move into that, and then I'm going to build a single family. It's the same conversation. And the urgency, I feel like that's what's really interesting. The urgency of that buyer is like, it feels real. It feels like it's strong. It feels like it's real. I feel like people feel like that now that COVID concerns are lessening, that because a lot of my folks are like, I'm going to get the COVID vaccine and I'm going to fly there in April, May, June. That's really big. A bunch of people are already scheduled to come then. So there's a lot of people now that are trying to buy before those people come. Because even with all of our demand, that's even muted by the COVID travel thing. So if that becomes less of an issue and travel becomes less of an issue, then there's a lot of people that I haven't even heard of yet that are going to come here. So all the existing people that are already shopping are feeling that, and they're trying to jump on stuff early. So I just think the demand's too strong. So I see the market getting crazier and crazier and crazier and continuing to go that way. And if you don't want to be like way out in Mayaca City by the end of this thing, and you don't want to live that lifestyle, and you want to be close to the beaches and that kind of thing, I think what's not going to happen is you're not going to be able to like all of a sudden get closer to the coast or closer to downtown or closer to Venice Island. And so I think if there's any urgency related to this stuff, it would be proximity to where you can buy in town based on the availability at the current moment. So I hope that helps. I know I've rambled a little bit on this one, but I hope that helps. And I wanted to, I like to kind of show some recent sales in each bracket so you can get an idea of the style of housing for the prices. And this would be stuff that would be like kind of hot, sold early, it would be like the best of that price range. So let's hop over and take a look at that before we wrap up. So now let's look at some real examples of different price brackets. So I pulled a few in a few different price brackets. So we're going to go kind of lowest to highest real quick and get an idea just kind of what sold over the recent history. So the first one, so this one sold in Greenbrook, and it was listed at $415, sold at $4, and it sold in 1 day. So Greenbrook's one of the older communities. It was built this one was built in 2007. Looked pretty new still, but nice community. It's older, lower fees, not a bunch of built-in amenities. Like there's no community pool or any of that kind of stuff like within the individual communities, but kind of get a feel. So this would be your kind of 400. So this is the 3 to 400 bracket, but this one's right at 400. So a pretty traditional floor plan, kind of that newer style, but newer for the 2007 style rather. And I think this one has a pool and spa. Hold on a second. A lot of pictures here. More than anticipated. Gosh. Okay. So yeah, I mean, nice pool area and stuff. So pretty good value for 400, as far as all you're getting, but example of that one. And then, so the next one's in Country Club East. So that's a golf course community. It sits right next to Country Club, and they share amenities. Country Club East was built newer, a little bit more affordable, and that's on like the southern side of Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, so a little closer to town in Sarasota. So this is a 3, 2.5, and this one sold the very first day on market, technically day 0, and it was listed at $499 and sold at $499. So this gives you kind of like this $100K more kind of see what you're getting there. So this one has a pretty lovely pool area. They did a good job with it. So you can kind of see the difference between that 500 and that 400 price bracket. Plus, this community offers a lot more, but you got higher fees as well. So there's 2 private golf courses and a public in there. So this would be the people that are really moving here for this reason. Would be the appeal here. Let me move on here. So our third one I pulled, so this is in River Club at 636. So you can kind of see where the jump does. So this was built in 2006, a year older than the first one we looked at. This is a 4.3.5, and it sold in the first day as well. It is about 3,800 square feet. So pretty like kind of traditional old school Florida style house, tile roof. You kind of like grand entryways and kind of sprawling property. So I'll kind of flip through a little bit here and get an idea. It looks, pretty similar style to the Country Club East one. But you're just going to get, generally a little bit more square footage. And River Club's another one of those like older, less kind of resort style amenity communities. And this one has like the loft upstairs and all that, nice pool area. And then we'll look at 2 more real quick. This one's super nice. So this would be in our $1 million to $2 million bucket. Or I'm sorry, skipped one here. This would be okay. So I guess I pulled 2 at the 2 million over bucket. So let's look at this one first. So this one's in Country Club, just the regular Lakewood Country Club. So this one sits right next to that Country Club East. So you can kind of see the disparity just amongst that one community and how many different things they offer. So this sold at 2.3 million, sold at 2.2 million. It was offered at 2.3 and change. It's a 4.5, and it's 5,800 square feet. So yeah, just like elegance, I guess is the word that comes to mind when I saw this one. It's a real unique kind of like Italian style, and just everything's grand. Everything looks real custom. So this would be a real specific buyer this would appeal to. Only risk of doing something this unique is the amount of people it'll appeal to. But this would be in your luxury buyer pool. So obviously they didn't have a tough time selling this one. But yeah, pretty awesome, screened in the whole area. And then we'll look at one more here real quick. So the last one's in a community called the Concession, out kind of east, State Road 70. So this is 1.5 acres. So this was listed at 4.7 million, and it sold the first day, and they got it for 4.4. So about $433 dollars a square foot. But you can see this thing's just absolutely massive. And out there at the Concession, like you get the property as well, so a lot of privacy. This one really nice modern design. I won't spend too much time on it, but just want to kind of give you guys an idea of what we are working with here. So okay, so let me flick back real quick. All right, so that wraps up this video. So a market report Monday for Lakewood Ranch. I got a couple tools and that kind of thing for Lakewood Ranch. If you want to get any deeper, if you want to schedule a call, we can do that as well. But I have a pricing tool that kind of breaks down the communities, the last 2 years of sales in each community, just kind of an Excel file style. And that'll give you more like individual communities you could toggle to see, like if you were shopping around. The purpose of it was to see like how to narrow from the 29 where you should go in without a conversation. And then also check out this video I'll put right here that is last week's Market Report Monday. And then I have a bunch of Lakewood Ranch, I'll try to drop here, a bunch of Lakewood Ranch videos from the past, and just overall Sarasota playlists of, I think we're over 80 videos now in the last 12 months or so. So tons of resources. And then feel free to reach out if you need anything else. Please subscribe. Please like. That helps me kind of continue to do this kind of thing. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you on the next one.